Strap in for the world's fastest half hour. You're on the Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. And brought to you by Hercules Tires and Grunt Style Apparel. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Herbert and Marty Huff.
This is the Straight Line on drag racing. Thanks for stopping by our half hour of horsepower. Appreciate you being with us. Tanner Gray stops by to talk to us about his second Pro Stock win of the year, and we'll remember the life of one of the greatest of all time, Tom the Mongoose McEwen. It's coming up this week on the Straight Line. Wherever you may be, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Straight Line on drag racing at MRN.com, along with four-time IHRA Top Fuel champion and 10-time NHRA National Event winner Doug Herbert. I am Marty Huff. As advertised, Tanner Gray coming up a little bit to talk about his second Pro Stock win of the season. But first, Doug, we'll take time out to talk about one of the greatest of all time, Tom the Mongoose McEwen, who lost his life here just a couple of days ago. And I know that growing up in the drag racing world in Southern California, you've spent a lot of time with the Mongoose, and I know this is not an easy time for you.
Well, he was just one of the great guys, Mongoose McEwen. Like, I don't know, hopefully our listeners, anyone that's older, our age, right? When we were kids, we had Snake and Mongoose Hot Wheels sets, I mean, that was like the coolest thing ever. And I remember hanging on the fence at Orange County Raceway when I was a kid, watching McEwen race. And, I mean, there were so many cars, English leather car and the Coors car and the last, actually what they called it, the last drag race was at Orange County in 81 or 82 or something like that. Yeah, with that Coors Top Fuel car. McEwen won the last drag race at Orange County International Raceway. I was there. That was so cool. But I got a chance, obviously, to know him really well. I got to race with him. I raced against him his year driving that Mobil 1 Top Fuel car, Jack Clark car. I got to race him a few times that year. And he was just a nice guy. He was a mentoring guy. Like, he'd come talk to you, hey, kid, He called me kid until probably about 10 years ago, and then he'd call me Dougie. So I went from kid to Dougie. Yeah. But just a great guy. I think he was a hero and a mentor for a lot of people. And number 16 on the NHRA all-time list, And it wasn't that he won 100 some races like John Force, but he was one of the guys that maybe one of the very first guys to bring sponsorship into drag racing. Like, he was the business guy. He's like, how are we going to figure out how to do this business? And we've had him on the show. We've had Tom on the show several times.
Several times.
I remember his first drag race. He said he took his mom's Oldsmobile out to Santa Ana drag strip, and ran it down the track, and then somehow got back to her. Hey, your kid was out there drag racing at Santa Ana. And, but McEwen, he loved drag racing, and he was an asset to the sport of drag racing. A mentor. And, a lot of dragster guys, we talk about that, like Snake, right? You either love Snake or you hate him. Yeah. The movie changed the personalities of
the Snake and Mongoose movie.
The Snake and Mongoose movie
yeah.
made Tom McEwen look a little bit like he was kind of the philandering guy that was out playing. No, they had that role reversed. McEwen was the business guy that had his nose to the grindstone, but Pernod wasn't too excited about doing the movie unless they wanted to really switch that around. And we'll get Snake on the show one of these days and ask him, but I doubt he might not admit that. But anyways, McEwen was the business guy. He was the guy that was working hard. McEwen's son, probably his best win ever, 1978 Indy U.S. Nationals. His son Jamie died from complications stemming from cancer, leukemia. And that was probably like the most emotional win ever. Like, the only, probably. Even Pernod was racing him. Pernod probably kind of wanted McEwen to win. So I think, he and I always had a lot to talk about with kids, and he knew my kids growing up. Like, he was friends with John and James, and would talk to him. I've still got a 1957 Chevy go-kart. He sent us 2 go-karts, one for John, one for James.
Oh, wow.
Go-kart, like a Briggs & Stratton powered go-kart. And James is still in immaculate condition. John took his and set up pallets and made a jump out of it and busted the thing into pieces. I'm not sure what happened to it. I think I probably still got the pieces around, but I've still got one of those. So anyways, McEwen, what a great guy, a great asset to the sport of NHRA drag racing. Just great in racing in general. I mean,
right.
People know obviously who Snake and Mongoose are. I mean, they're probably Big Daddy, Snake and Mongoose are John Force modern day, but those are the biggest names.
Richard Petty brought SDP to NASCAR and made that very iconic to NASCAR. But when McEwen, and that was McEwen's deal, was bringing the Snake and Mongoose to Hot Wheels and to the NHRA. That was the game changer that kind of put NHRA up to another level.
Yeah, it was a mainstream sport all of a sudden. It went from being something where a bunch of guys are out at the track, racing their cars up and down the track, a bunch of mechanics, and then all of a sudden it took it to the business level. All of a sudden drag racing became business. McEwen really got that started, and Kenny Bernstein kind of took it to
the next
whole
level.
nother level.
Sure.
Really, when he started paying Dale Armstrong, $1 million contract to be his crew chief, then that kind of changed things again. But McEwen was the guy. He was the guy that started that.
And Tom McEwen also knew the value of putting on a show. I mean, that's why he started the Snake and the Mongoose deal in the first place. I mean, the Snake already had the nickname, so he wanted something to kind of rival that. And then all of a sudden, everybody knew, hey, Snake and Mongoose, Snake and Mongoose. Yeah. Come on down, because whether it was an NHRA national event or whether it was they
did a lot of match racing.
Race.
And I even back in the early '90s, we'd go match race different places all around the country. And McEwen had that '57 Chevy funny car.
Yeah.
And he'd always tell me, hey kid, you want to sell shirts? You make sure you do long burnout. And everybody loves long burnouts. And now at the drag race, nobody does long burnout now. But I think that sucks. I don't know. We had what was the pro stock guy we had on?
Derek Kramer.
Derek Kramer that won the burnout contest. I think that's so cool. And McEwen is, he's kind of the guy that started that. John Force really took off with that, and I think that's one of the big reasons why John Force has so many fans now. He always did big old smoky burnouts, and everybody loved that. But that was part of putting on the show, and that was Tom McEwen.
And one of the reasons why Derek Kramer right now has that American Ethanol sponsorship, and he's going full time with it this year, is because he won that burnout contest and everybody knew him for the burnouts, and American Ethanol thought that was cool and upped their sponsorship to take that to a full-time schedule for Derek Kramer. And that all goes back to Tom McEwen and his influence.
McEwen told me several times, don't forget, we're putting on a show here. There's fans. Take care of the fans. And McEwen would be out there signing autographs, and it's just like the old guys at racing. It's Bobby Allison and Richard Petty. I mean, and not to throw anybody under the bus. I mean, we know all the drivers nowadays, and they got to be there for 15 minutes. Between 3 o'clock and 3:15, they show up at 3 o'clock and they leave at 3:15. Where with Tom McEwen, it didn't work like that. With Bobby Allison, it doesn't work like that. With Richard Petty, it doesn't work like that. They're there for the first fan till the end fan. They're not going to leave. There's fans in line, and that was Tom McEwen.
Yeah, and one of the great innovators of his time, and a damn good racer as well. Left us here on Monday. Tom McEwen was 81 years old.
When it comes to safety, nothing is more important than your vehicle's brakes. If it's hard to stop or you hear squealing or grinding noises during braking, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You'll find the brake parts you need from trusted brands like Brake Best and Brake Best Select at everyday low prices. Play it safe with brakes from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
MRN.com. Original online audio, video, and digital content. Need the latest information on each week's races? Check out the MRN.com Race Center. Need to find your local radio station for MRN original programs and Camping World Truck, Xfinity, and Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series races? Go to Stations on MRN.com. All the latest NASCAR news and opinion pieces, race schedules, driver standings, and archives of MRN programs, MRN race broadcasts, and so much more. MRN.com.
calling all admirers of the King.
For Richard Petty, the STP Pontiac.
We have the place for you. Celebrate the life and career of NASCAR's all-time win leader, Richard Petty.
The hat came about in the late 70s.
From the legend behind the King's famous crown to thrills and spills that the Hall of Famer had over the years.
Petty is sliding, slamming into the wall.
It's Richard Petty's Road to Royalty, and it's available for free to download on iTunes and MRN.com right now.
Welcome back to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Thanks for being here on MRN.com this week. This is The Straight Line along with Doug Herbert. I am Marty Huff. Coming off the weekend in Virginia Motorsports Park, debuting or after a long absence on the NHRA Tour. And man, Virginia Motorsports Park hit a home run. Maybe not even a home run, a grand slam this weekend, Doug. It was fantastic. This segment is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. This is our red light, green light segment. And boy, it couldn't have been a bigger green light for the people at Virginia than this weekend.
Well, everybody I talked to was so happy with the event just because it was a great event. The weather was great, but the track conditions were awesome. Apparently the track was smooth, was sticky, good times. Everybody was really, really enjoying it, and the crowd was enjoying it. Sold out crowd at least one of the days.
Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, super deal up there in Richmond. Hopefully a lot of the people were not thinking about Englishtown very much because the event in Richmond was so good. So really happy that they had a great event up there, and I think that's a great way to start out with the first year having a Grand Slam event like this.
Yeah, no question about that. They re-poured the entire drag strip for concrete, no transition period, no partial asphalt, partial concrete. It was all concrete, and everybody just raved about it. Had the opportunity, and I saw him a couple of times on NHRA All Access and also on Fox. The great Joe Amato was there this weekend, and yesterday was Joe Amato's birthday. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. So that was fun. I sent him a text. He texts once in a while, so we got a happy birthday to Joe Amato going out. That was good to see him hanging out at the race. It doesn't get to that many races, I don't think, anymore. Yeah. So that was nice to see him to get out there. I think he's still got the urge to jump back in, but he got out of it about the same time as Garlitz did, just because his eyes were coming apart. They were, the parachutes. When the parachutes come out of these cars, they go 6 or 7 Gs negative and tearing the retinas out on cars. So if I ever can't see, that's usually what I blame it on too.
But it was really good to see Joe Amato, one of the all-time greats in Top Fuel, and one of the great personalities also of drag racing. And so happy birthday belatedly to Joe Amato. And when we come back, we'll wrap up another great edition of the show.
Things happen fast in racing, and if you don't know where to look, you can miss it all. With Legend from Racing Electronics, you'll never miss another moment. Legend gives you live fan vision video, in-car cameras, and stats at premier National Series events, and the next generation race scanner for unfiltered driver and crew audio at any motorsports event nationwide. Race fans have never been closer to the action. Welcome to the future of the fan experience. Learn more by visiting racingelectronics.com.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Save on your next oil change with 5 quarts of Castrol GTX high mileage motor oil and a MicroGuard filter on sale now for the same price as Castrol Conventional at $25.99. Plus get a $5 O'Reilly gift card by mail. Improve engine performance with Castrol at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, back to Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Appreciate you being with us here on MRN.com this week. And lots coming out of Virginia Motorsports Park this weekend. Courtney Force wins again. Yep. 4 wins in funny car. Right now, the move for John Force to get Brian Karate away from Don Schumacher Racing is maybe one of the biggest side notes of this 2018 season.
I would have to agree. I mean, you look at Courtney Force, low ET, top speed of this race again this weekend, and then going and winning the race. Okay, there are 11 races. She's won 4 of them?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good, you got a pretty good season going now. So,
yeah.
I mean, unbelievable. And Courtney's, I've always been impressed with Courtney. I think she's a good racer, you know. She's a good racer.
Yeah.
And, you know, she obviously didn't fall from the tree, you know. What's the old acorn don't fall far from the tree? She didn't fall far from the tree. She's a good racer. And, man, with that Brian Karate coming on and making that car run like it is, wow. They're going to be tough, and I don't see them slacking off anytime between now and the end of the year.
No, indeed not. And really, when you take a look at Courtney Force's season last year, I think she had 6 poles. I mean, they were fantastic during Friday and Saturday qualifying, and then just couldn't get it done on Sunday. Boy, something has really turned around over in that shop and on that trailer specifically, because they have figured out how to win races.
Yeah, and you know, there again, it's the dragster guy come over and starts running the funny car, and they just seem like that works pretty good, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely tip of the hat to Brian Karate and Courtney Force, that whole team. They are doing an incredible job. Advanced Auto Parts, I know, is tickled pink. So really pretty happy to see them. And then Steve Torrance coming back and winning again.
Yeah, another team on a roll.
Yeah, I mean, the whole team that Steve Torrance has put together, they are really performing well. And, you know, we've had Steve on the show several times. And I firmly believe that last year they got that championship kind of robbed out from under.
Yeah.
Their car, the last couple races, just didn't run like it had after they crashed in Dallas.
Yeah.
You know, the backup car, they just couldn't get it quite together to run quite as well. Well, right now they got that car running pretty good again. So they're right back. I'd say they're definitely the dominant force for you know, this year in Top Fuel. Clay Millican, I don't know. I didn't talk to Clay actually, but you know, he had a red light start first round. There's sometimes in your head when some just says it's time to go, and you know, you hit the gas. Obviously, that doesn't happen very often with Clay, but I think if you're not trying very hard,
yeah,
you know, you've got to be trying that hard, or you're not. You know, you're going to get a red light once in a while because you're trying that hard. Something in your head just says it's time to go, and you hit the gas.
Yeah, and going back to Steve Torrance, now with a little bit of an allegiance with Scott Palmer's team, and then like this weekend, Dom Lagana comes out, where they're working. The Lagana brothers are working together, and obviously working on Steve's team. Sometimes it's Billy Torrance that comes out, so it's not like they're the one horse show out there anymore. They're getting data, they're getting help, they're getting resources from other teams, and being able to put together, you know, a real good package to where when they show up on Sunday, man, you better look out. So
that's right. Well, Richard Hogan, Steve Torrance's crew chief, has been around a long time.
Yes.
He was a crew guy for Big Daddy Don Garlitz, and then he worked side by side with Alan Johnson for quite a few years. So you know what? There's no lack of smartness over there on Steve Torrance's crew, I can assure you that. And then, like you say, Bobby Lagana has been around for a long, long time. His family's been involved. And then Dom Lagana works on the car. So they've just got a great team, and it's showing.
And you talked about Clay Millican, unfortunately red lighting in first round of eliminations. He comes back to Bristol this week to defend his title.
Yeah, first time going back as a defending champion at Bristol. So that'll be fun. I might take a ride up there to Bristol this weekend. You know, Father's Day, Bristol, and I love Bristol already anyway. So it might be a time to go.
Well, yeah, and considering that you were inducted into the Legends of Thunder Valley Ring of Honor a couple years ago, if that may be a really good trip to take.
Yeah, I think so. And you know, for anybody that has never been to Bristol, it is one of the places that you just need to go. It's called Thunder Valley, and the reason why it's called Thunder Valley is there is, you know, thunder and echoes, and like it is just a cool place to watch a race. You know, they've carved out down through this valley, and the bleachers are in the side of the mountain, and it's just a really, really cool place. So Thunder Valley definitely needs to be on your list, and that's coming from the Legend of Thunder Valley. They inducted me last year into a Legend of Thunder Valley, which is really cool. So you can see my 10-foot tall picture on the back of the grandstands at Bristol if you go over there.
What was it about Bristol that you liked so much? Because you won a ton of races there.
Yeah, we won 6 years straight at Bristol. My first ever Top Fuel win at Bristol in 1992. And for some reason, we just had it going on. Every year we went to Bristol, and everything clicked for us. So Bristol was just one of those places where, where you just can't go wrong. It's kind of like with, right? Dale Earnhardt won at Daytona, 17 times or something. He only won the 500 once, but he won every other race there a million times. So it was just one of those things. Something just clicked when we went to Bristol, and it was just really a great place to go. My kids loved to go in there and race in there, and selling T-shirts and T-shirt trailer and just all this stuff. Bristol is just a great, fun place.
Now, for those that may not have been to Bristol Dragway, but been to the circle track on the backstretch, kind of off of turn 3, that's where the drag strip is. And so
if you don't go around the backside of the circle track, you really wouldn't know that it was there. But they used to land planes on the drag strip for the race at the NASCAR race. But I don't think they're landing any planes on there anymore with the way that the tower is now.
Well, right, exactly, and they're parked cars back there for the because it's that close. So if you've been to a race at Bristol Speedway, Bristol Motor Speedway, and you haven't been to the drag strip, I highly, highly recommend you going there, because if the echoes that you get off of the track.
Well, it's called Thunder Valley for a reason.
Right, exactly. And if you combine the speed and the sound and everything echoing off there, it is one of those tracks that you cannot miss on the tour.
Absolutely.
So next week we will talk about what happened at Bristol Dragway. This will be one of the 4 in a row here on the tour, and so I believe this is 3 out of 4 races in a row. And so the teams are going to be wearing thin, and it's going to be one of those hot weekends. Looking ahead, just before we got on the air, I took a look at the weather forecast. Mid-80s, partly sunny. That could lead to some really quick times at Bristol. You take the direct sun off there, and it's not going to be boiling hot there, which it can.
It can be.
There, so if you can maybe look forward to some really good times.
Typically, I don't know what the schedule is this year, but typically they run night sessions up at Bristol too. So that a night session at Bristol is pretty cool for anybody that's never seen a Top Fuel or funny car at night. That's really a fun time to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So next week we will catch you up on all the action that happened at Bristol Dragway. So for everybody involved this week, for Donald, for Daryl, for Doug, I'm Marty. We'll see you next week here on The Straight Line.